All righty. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Not sure everyone's joining from today, but we'll give it some time here as people get piled in. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Wednesday here as we're getting started for our Kahoot Basic webinar. Nice to see we have lots of people still coming in. We're going to be getting started in just a moment, so go ahead, fill up your water bottle, get your coffee out, and then we'll get started. We'll have some fun here today and play a little bit of Kahoot. Awesome stuff. Seeing people get poured into our basic webinar. Again, hope everyone's having an awesome time. Thank you so much for joining here today. We're going to have lots of fun, get you on the right track, get you feeling comfortable using Kahoot. And the source that I always go back to is my job here as a facilitator is making sure you have a little bit of fun as well. So go ahead, like I said, get yourself a coffee if it's still morning for you. Fill up your water bottle if it's a little bit later, and we'll get started in just a second here. Awesome stuff, everybody. Awesome. Just before I go ahead and get started here, I will slowly introduce myself. My name is Connor. I will be your facilitator here today, walking you through a Kahoot basic webinar. You will hear that again as we get started. I'll do another introduction as people get poured in here. But again, welcome. We do have our chat as well here today, so go ahead, post your questions in the chat here today. I will do my best here to make sure I get your questions answered. If for whatever reason I cannot do that, we will get back to you with an answer as quickly as possible. But again, would love to answer any questions that you may have. Alrighty, we're just a couple minutes here past the hour. So what I will do now is I will go ahead and I will share my screen. And what we'll do is get started with regards to our Kahoot. Awesome stuff here, folks. So if you're looking at my screen here as we go ahead and get started, you're looking at what it looks like to be inside of a Kahoot library. So whether you have a subscription with Kahoot, whether you're thinking about it, it's a great idea. It doesn't matter what your use case is. There's going to be a really good use case for using Kahoot. This is what it would look like when you go ahead and get logged in. But what would be a Kahoot webinar without playing a little bit of Kahoot? So what I'm going to do now is we're going to host a Kahoot live. All we need to do is build a Kahoot. That's what we're going to do just after this, and then we're going to host it just like I'm doing here today. So I'll go ahead and host my Kahoot live. Remember, everybody, if you're joining here, make sure to have your phone. You will need your phone here because we are going to be playing it to really show you that dynamic atmosphere that we want to instill. Whether we're in a product meeting, whether we're in a live event, we want to make sure we're really making sure people are staying engaged at the events in the workplace all the time. Alrighty, so here today, if you're looking at my screen here, we have so many different fun little game modes you can choose from here. We have classic mode, the one you know and love, the one your kids probably went to school and played, but it's also played in the workspace as well. 97% of Fortune 500 companies are using Kahoot, and it's for good reason. They understand that engagement is really difficult. It's a reason why people have a lower attention span than a goldfish. So we want to make sure we're keeping people engaged on their toes in the workplace. Super important. Recommend using something like this, like classic mode, to really bring back that fun and engaging atmosphere inside the work environment. So for the case of today, we're going to play classic mode. But like I said, what I always recommend when you're using your Kahoot subscription, go ahead and try out the other modes. Make a personal Kahoot about something you love. Maybe you love baking. Maybe you love running. Maybe you love doing things around the house. Maybe you want to make one for your significant other. No problem. There's no limits when it comes to Kahoot. Make it in your private workspace. Have a little bit of fun. I always say you will learn the most through doing. So go ahead and make one on your own time, and then we can apply it to a professional setting. For the sake of today, we're going to play classic mode. So when you're going ahead and getting started, you always want to make sure that we're checking our settings section here on the bottom right-hand corner. We want to make sure we're always showing our questions and answers. So on your phone, I want to make sure that your questions and answers are showing up there. When we're playing Kahoot as well, you have the ability to identify the people that are actually joining as well. So maybe you're tracking player progression, maybe you're tracking employee progression across knowledge seeking behavior. You can go ahead and always track that here by turning on player identifier. I'm not going to go ahead and do that today, but it is an option if you're looking to track player progress or employee progress when it comes to certain material. You have the ability to change themes. So if you want to create a more dynamic environment and more immersive brand experience, I'm lucky that I get to work with some of our most awesome customers in the retail space. And this is a feature that they know and love. Really want to cultivate that atmosphere when you're playing Kahoot. So it makes it seem like you're not actually leaving your own brand behind. And that's where Kahoot can always come into play. We have immersive branding elements that are available that really make sure that we're always keeping our brand awareness at the forefront. You have the ability to change the language, of course, the UI. We are all about inclusivity here at Kahoot. It's one of our core values as an organization, and we do the same thing when it comes to different languages. You have the ability to turn on characters as well. What would be Kahoot without a little bit of fun? You have the ability to go ahead and turn that off using presentation mode, which is another mode, but that's going to be next week, next Wednesday on our advanced session. So once you go ahead and conquer today, which I know you all will, we're going to go ahead and have you join their advanced session next Wednesday, which I will send a link out towards the end of the call. But this is just the basics when you're going ahead and getting started. But without further ado, let's actually go ahead and get started here. I'm going to click on start. And I'm going to just ask everybody to go ahead, get your phone out and scan the QR code that's going to pop up on my screen in just a second. Or you can go to kahoot.it and type the game pin in 7465891. And let me make sure I can enlarge that for you here. So just get your phone out there and give that a try. All right, I just posted the game pin in the chat as well. The game pin will always be at the bottom of the screen as well, everybody, right? So if you, by chance, you have to leave the game for whatever reason, it will always be at the bottom of the screen, so you can go ahead and join. Awesome stuff. Great to see everybody joining here today. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. For a lot of us around the world, it's a bit of a shorter week. It's Easter around the world for a lot of people. Here in Denmark, where I'm located here in Copenhagen, it's a short week. But I'm lucky to end my week with all of you lovely folks showing you how to use a little bit of Kahoot. Awesome stuff here. Great to see everybody joining. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot of people here joining. Super cool to see. And without further ado, we want to go ahead and get started. Like I said before, you can go ahead and post your questions in the chat. I'll make sure to go through everything here today to get you started. And I'm going to go through our agenda here to make sure that we're all aligned on what you can expect out of our training here today. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here with our basic webinar. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Classic mode, having fun on a Wednesday. Here we go. Again, just once again, thank you so much for joining, taking time out of your day to learn how you can make learning awesome in the workplace. Whether you're someone in product, whether you're someone that's doing live events, whether you're in learning and development, there's going to be a use case for using Kahoot, which I will demonstrate throughout our presentation here today. Awesome stuff. As I said before, as people were getting piled in, my name is Connor. I am a customer success manager here at Kahoot. I'm lucky to have the best job in the world. I get to talk to lovely people like you every single day, lovely customers every single day that really instill what I like to do every single day. I love talking to people. I love finding out what people's use cases are to make learning just a mission with everybody. I think learning doesn't stop. You shouldn't just stop learning once you're outside of school. It should be in the workplace as well. If we want to give our employees confidence to go ahead and do their jobs effectively, we need to stay engaged in the workplace. And that is my job. That's why I love coming to work every single day. I love working at Kahoot because I get to work with some of the biggest and best brands. As I said before, 97% of Fortune 500 companies are using Kahoot. So it's super important for me to get to work with the best brands in the world. So now that you know a little bit more about me, I want to learn a little bit more about you. This is where I want to find out where you're joining from today. I did cut off Australia because I assumed if you woke up early in the night, that probably wasn't going to be the case. But go ahead and drop your pin here where you're coming from here today. You have about 20 seconds here. So just go ahead and drop that really quickly. No right or wrong answer. Drop pin here. Again, the purpose of this is an icebreaker to really find out more about the audience. So if you're in a live event, really cool to go ahead and see where people are joining from. Got 16 answers on the board, 17, look at that, going up to 20. Awesome stuff. All righty, we're everywhere. Look at that, international group all across the United States, all across Europe. We have a couple people joining, someone from India as well, looks like. Really, really cool stuff. We have some people probably from Canada. Fun fact, I'm actually from Canada as well, even though I'm located in Denmark. So cool to see a really cool international community here. And I think that really speaks to the presence of Kahoot. It's an international brand. We're the leader in gamifying learning, and learning, it doesn't have any borders, which is really cool. So really, really cool stuff to see. Moving along, this is our agenda today. Number one is for me to go through some introductory slides. I call that the boring. This is what I'm doing right now. Just going through a simple slide. We've all sat through these meetings before and we all say, man, when is this going to end? Well, we can go ahead and spice things up by asking questions just like the previous one. Where are you joining from today? How are you feeling? Getting feedback from people in a meeting to really make those meetings more impactful. And then step two, I want to show you how to create a Kahoot, and not only that, how to host a Kahoot as well. Because what good is a Kahoot if you don't go ahead and use it? It's like having a really nice car and never driving it. Same thing here. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we're going ahead and using the tool, and that's really my goal here today, is to go ahead, create a Kahoot with you, give you the confidence to go ahead and host a Kahoot. And of course, if I can make sure that you have a little bit of fun here today, then my job is done. So really, really cool stuff. Moving along, this is something called a word cloud question. So I would love to just know, what's your role at your organization? Just so I can understand a little bit more lay of the land, read the room a little bit more. What is your role? Are you in customer success like me? Are you in learning development? Are you in product? Would love to hear what your role is in your organization. About 10 seconds left here. Got lots of answers on the board. Super cool stuff using the word cloud. Get those answers in here. 2, 1. Awesome. Really cool stuff. Look at that. Training, sales, learning solutions, design, technical trainer, quality assurance. As you can see, it's different. We have people in sales here. We have people in training, HR. There's a use case for everybody when it comes to using Kahoot. And I think that speaks to the volume of the impact Kahoot can actually have on an organization, which is really, really cool stuff. This is something that we use called a word cloud. It's really good to collect feedback in 20 characters or less, where you can really get a lay of the land for how people are feeling, people's opinions, people's roles, really capture that audience engagement as well. So let's say, for example, you were at a conference and you want to go ahead and understand the people you're speaking to, just like I am in a webinar. I'm able to see who I'm actually speaking to really, really quickly. And it's not just people going ahead and maybe looking at a very boring presentation. People actually have to give their feedback in this setting. So super cool stuff here. All right, next one here is just who we are as a business. As I mentioned before, Kahoot is the leader in gamifying learning in the workplace. It's not just presentations, it's meetings, it's events, it's training, it's every single day. We want to go ahead and use that to our advantage here in a workplace here. So it doesn't matter if you're in person, it doesn't matter if you're remote, you can go ahead and use Kahoot to really make all of your projects way more impactful here. Awesome, awesome stuff here. And of course, our mission as a company, of course, as I said before, we make learning awesome. We want to make sure that learning is not only awesome, but we want to make sure that our solution is easy, it's fun, and it's rewarding. So those are super important things when it comes to using Kahoot. And we believe that that is a solution when it comes to implementing an engaging tool like Kahoot inside of an organization. If we make it easy, if we make it fun, make it rewarding, we're really pushing down those borders in order for people to go ahead and stay engaged. I always go back to the goldfish. You always have to remember this. People don't have the attention span that they did 20 or 30 years ago. We want to make sure that that is the case. Awesome stuff. Moving along here, we'll go ahead and just go to our next question here, which is a poll question. I would love to know, what is your experience level using Kahoot? I know this is a basic webinar, so you might not be an expert or a super user. No problem. There's no right or wrong answer. But this is something you can do to go ahead and just gauge an audience of how people are. Let's go ahead and get those answers in here. And again, if you are having trouble joining, the game pin is at the bottom of the screen. You can see 746-5891 that's also posted in the chat. Awesome stuff. There we go. Perfect. I have hosted, played a game or two. Awesome stuff. We have some people that have never used it. We have a super user in the house. That's awesome. Again, experiences across the board here. It's cool that people have hosted or played a game before, or maybe you've never used it. Again, there's no right or wrong answer, and that's a great thing when it comes to using Kahoot. But you came to the right place here today. You're in good hands. I'll make sure to show you how things work. Moving along here, a couple more slides here before we get into the fun stuff, going ahead and building a Kahoot. These really are Kahoot's most impactful areas when it comes to where we see the most value. So whether it's performance training, town halls, news sharing, onboarding, and upskilling, we can go ahead and use these as methods to go ahead and increase employee engagement. Same thing goes for customer engagement, trade shows, as the like. Awesome stuff. So you can use it in so many different ways. It doesn't matter if you're in learning and development. It doesn't matter if you're just in sales. You can go ahead and use it everywhere in your organization. And that's really the use case here, again, is that it doesn't matter your department, you can go ahead and implement that anywhere inside the business. Moving on here. Just one of our last questions here is, how do you plan on using Kahoot? So this is something here when it comes to a more in-depth answer. So if you remember from the word cloud, it was about 20 characters or less. This is where you can put 250 characters or less, so you can give a much more in-depth answer. And as you can imagine, when you're going through an onboarding, this is really where you could use that. Gather that feedback to make those trainings more impactful. Again, this is a really good use case, and I'd love to hear people's opinion on how you plan on using Kahoot. No right or wrong answer. Maybe you just have some ideas. Maybe it's, oh, I want to go ahead and make sure that I have some icebreaker events for my employees. Maybe I want to go ahead and make training more impactful. Maybe I want to go ahead and just ensure that my employees are always upskilling their skills. Always a use case there. So just curious to see how people plan on using it. And again, if you're not sure, that's also totally okay. You came to the right place. Yeah, and just for the question in the chat, just go to kahoot.it and then type in the game pin. That's right. Great question, Amber. We do. I'll get to that in just a second. When we go ahead and build a Kahoot, we have some awesome features that I can show you there. All right, 20 more seconds. Get those answers in here. All right, 17, 15 more seconds, everybody. All right, final 10 seconds. This is going to be very cool to have all of these opinions in one place. All right, we're getting to the end here. 19 answers submitted. Let's go ahead and just see what people had said. How do you plan on using Kahoot? Training engagement, training new hires. Maybe you want to do all staff team training. Really, really cool stuff in the workplace. Classroom as a tool, really cool. Teaching presentations, team meetings, town hall meetings. Really awesome stuff, everybody. Great stuff. As you can see, when you're using an engagement tool like this, we're ensuring that people are able to give feedback. What we can do as facilitators, we can then take this feedback here and then we can apply it, right? We can understand, okay, maybe people are learning in a different way. Let's learn how people learn and then apply that to our teaching. So as you can see here, great for feedback, really, really cool stuff, many different use cases. Awesome to see. Great stuff, everybody. Great to get the feedback there, which is really, really cool. All right. So that was a little bit of fun. That was some of the slides I wanted to go through. But as you can see, we can make training a little bit more impactful by instilling those quizzes into the training itself. So whether it's a word cloud, whether it's a poll, really understanding who we're speaking to. People need to stay engaged as there's a task that needs to be completed throughout the boring stuff. So that's interesting to see there. All right, everybody, just moving along here. Thanks so much for joining that one. If you just pay attention now to my screen, I'm going to walk you through all the other really good content that we're going to run through here today. So here's what it looks like when you go ahead and get logged into your account. You automatically will go to your home page. When it comes to a really important item, when you get an account with Kahoot, there's two things. One, you have your own private workspace. So again, my name's Connor. So I would have my own private workspace called my name. So I can go ahead and distinguish what workspace I'm working in by looking in the top left-hand corner. And then I can see my own private workspace. So that's just for me. That's my own private one. But you can see here, there's a bunch of different team workspaces. Because I work with so many different brands and things like that, I'm a part of many different ones. In your case, you would just have one team workspace. It would be your organization. So let's say, for example, you were working at Kahoot, you would just have one workspace that says Kahoot. And that's where we always want to work out of, the team workspace. So you have your private workspace and your team workspace. The team workspace is really great because you can collaborate with other people that have a Kahoot license inside of that team workspace. You can share Kahoots. You can go ahead and assign Kahoots to people. Multiple different things you can do. Always recommend working out of the team workspace for collaboration. Really, really good stuff. So that's just a high level overview of the different workspaces, but you also came here to learn how to actually create a Kahoot. So what we need to do here is we go ahead and click on Create in the top right-hand corner of the screen. I click on that, and you'll see you'll have three different things you can create. You could either create a Kahoot, the one we just played essentially. You can go ahead and create something called a story or a course. The stories and courses are going to be taught next week, next Wednesday, on our advanced webinar. But for today, to keep things light, we just want to go ahead and create a Kahoot. So in order to do so, I go ahead and I click on Kahoot. And just like that, I can go ahead and get started. There's multiple different ways to go ahead and get started with Kahoot. You can upload a PDF. You can go ahead and upload your slides, for example. So maybe you're using Microsoft PowerPoint and you want to go ahead and upload those slides. You can go ahead and click on Import Slides, and they'll automatically be uploaded into the Kahoot. Or maybe you don't know where you're going to go ahead and get started. So this was a question that was asked, like, do you have any pre-made Kahoots? Very close to that. So all you would want to do here is you can go ahead and click on Kahoot Generator, and then you can actually go ahead and type in a topic of what you're looking for here. So maybe you have a topic of learning and development, for example. I want to create some sample questions here. Just go ahead and click on Generate, and you'll get a ton of different questions that you can go ahead and just simply add into your Kahoot. So I hope that answered your question there that was asked just a moment ago. But a really good way to go ahead and get started. All you need to do then is click Add All, or just go through and select one by one the ones you want to go ahead and create. Awesome stuff there. Cool, really, really cool stuff. Yeah, and then if there was a question here, can you move content from your private workspace into your team workspace? You absolutely can. Once you go ahead and you link your account with your team workspace, you can go ahead and move content there. It's a great question. All right, but for the sake of today, we're gonna go ahead and get started here in a very fun way. All we need to do is just choose add a question. So we're starting from scratch here. I want to show everybody how we can do that just one by one. So all we do here is we click on add question. That's the very first thing we want to do when it comes to actually creating an impactful Kahoot. I click add question, and there's multiple different question types we can choose. The first batch you see here is called test knowledge. So these are going to be question types that have an actual answer. So if I were to tell you, is Connor located in Copenhagen? There's an answer. It's yes. So that could be a true or false question. So these are going to be questions that have an actual answer. True or false? You have a quiz question, which is essentially multiple choice. That's one question there. You have a type answer. So that's going to be a question where you can actually type in a correct answer. So I'll go ahead and just delete that one here. And I can go ahead and type something in. So you could say, what city is Connor located in? Again, for everyone knowing who's on here today, Connor is myself. I am Connor, and I am your facilitator here today. So this is lovely Copenhagen in Denmark. So as you can see here, there's going to be an actual answer. So when we go ahead and play a Kahoot, people actually need to go ahead and answer the question there. So that's one example of how you can go ahead and use Kahoot. You also have a slider, which is where people can actually choose an answer. So maybe you're in sales, for example, and you're trying to understand, okay, what's the sales target for this year? And everyone can go ahead and actually type an answer in, something that's super impactful, which is really cool. You have a pen answer. So maybe you have different policies that are on a screen. You can go ahead and actually pin your answer to what you feel is the correct answer there. So again, when it comes to testing knowledge, I would strongly recommend going ahead and playing around with the different game modes here and the different test knowledge questions. Really, really cool to start slow, build your own Kahoot on your own time, and it's a really, really impactful way to go ahead and get started. That way we can apply that knowledge to a professional setting. So again, if there is something to remember here, it's going to be the test knowledge bank is ones that have an actual answer. And then when we have the collect opinions questions, this is more for feedback. So if you're looking to improve training, if you're looking to go ahead and improve collaboration, these are really good ways to go ahead and get feedback from your employees. So maybe you're trying to gauge experience level, just like I was trying to do at the beginning of our call here today. I was trying to understand people's experience level using Kahoot. That's a really good use case there. Or maybe it's a drop pin, like I said. I was trying to find out where people were joining from today. That's one use case there. Or maybe it's in an icebreaker. How are you feeling today? It's Wednesday. Maybe you didn't have your coffee yet, so you might not be feeling too good. Those are just some use cases there. You also have the word cloud, like we just did, where it's 20 characters or less, understanding your role at your organization. Again, other use cases you could do is that what is your feedback on a new policy in the organization? That's something that we commonly see. And like I did before, the last question on our Kahoot we just played was an open-ended question. That's a really, really good one that I always recommend organizations use, especially when it comes to gauging employees and their feedback. So maybe you have a policy change in an organization and you really care for your employees and you want to understand what they actually feel about that. Using an open-ended question type is really impactful to make sure people feel heard in the workplace. So super cool to see. Awesome. Yeah, just a question that's in the chat. Looks like Caitlin, you have a question there. I will go ahead and show you just a second here when it comes to sending a Kahoot, because you don't need to play it live. We can go ahead and send it asynchronously as well. Scott had a question as well. Is there a limit to the number of people that can join and participate in a Kahoot? Yes, there is. It depends on your plan that you purchase. So if you go ahead and go to kahoot.it and you take a look at the different plans that are on our that you sign up for, it will distinguish whether you can host a certain amount. It will all be there in the homepage there. But really great question. So short answer, yes, it does. Thanks. Awesome stuff. Cool. All right, moving along here, just with regards to creating a Kahoot. Like I said, you can create those poll questions there as well. Really, really cool stuff to see. If I go here as well, if I go into add a slide, for example, I can also upload a PDF. So here's an example of what this could look like. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and upload a PDF. I can very quickly upload a PDF from my browser, from my desktop into Kahoot. So just like that, I have all my slides that I built. I saved it to my desktop. I click add all. And just like that, voila, I've now added my slides into Kahoot. So you don't just necessarily need to use your PowerPoint. You can go ahead and just upload it directly into Kahoot. All I did was click on add slide and I imported them here by clicking the import button. So as you can see here, great job. You've now seen how to add slides into a Kahoot. You can simply add slides to any Kahoot that you build. You can save time. And I always have to ask the question, how easy is that? It's super simple. All right. Moving along. Maybe you're not into using slides. That's no problem. We also have a lot of really awesome AI features that I briefly touched base on. When it comes to doing so, if you're going into the add question, you can also click on find. This is where you can also find Kahoots that have been built by other people. If you simply just search in the search bar, you can go ahead and find dozens that have been created by other organizations that are public to everybody. But I always recommend using the AI feature as well by clicking generate. That's something that's really cool here today. You can type in a topic, which will be found here. Type your topic in. It could be learning development, it could be Kahoot, it could be Copenhagen, it could be anything that you really are looking for here. Same thing goes for document as well. So as you saw there, I uploaded a PDF, which was just a document. Same thing goes for a URL. Maybe you just have a URL and it's like from your company website. Maybe it's like best practices, frequently asked questions. You want to make a Kahoot around. All you need to do is post the URL there, and then you can go ahead and click on continue. But great stuff to see there. Awesome. So as you can see there, we've been able to add some quiz types here to make learning more engaging. I always try to avoid boring. It's really important to go ahead and do that. And like I said before, how we do that is by adding those question types, which is super important. So if you remember from just a moment ago, there's two types, right? Collecting opinions and testing knowledge. If you're testing knowledge, that's probably pretty applicable for sales training where there's a right answer, or compliance training, another really strong use case using Kahoot. So really cool stuff there. Awesome. We already went through using AI a little bit when it comes to building Kahoots, which is super cool. It's a very good use case when it comes to saving time. We're all super busy in our day. Definitely recommend taking advantage of those. When it comes to creating Kahoots with engaging questions, as I mentioned before, want to make sure we're using not only test knowledge, but also collect opinions to really make sure we can really bring those Kahoots alive. And of course, you also have digital media. So one thing I didn't show everyone was that when you do sign up with Kahoot, you actually have a subscription through Getty Images. So if I click on add question and I go ahead here and I'm adding a question, maybe it's going to be true or false. So let's say, for example, is Kahoot HQ in Oslo, Norway? That is true. That is absolutely true. So in order to go ahead and take advantage of that, all I need to do is click on find and insert media, and it's going to take me to my library of images that I have. So it'll take me to all of the pictures I have here of Oslo. This is beautiful Oslo, and I can go ahead and add that there. So that's all part of your subscription when you're using Kahoot. So really cool that you have these digital media elements to your exposure. You're also able to upload those as well, right? So if you have your own brand and you have your own images, you can always upload those as well. You don't necessarily need to use those images as well. Awesome. Not sure why my image isn't showing up there, but let's go ahead and assume it did. And I'll go ahead and click on true. And then we have some questions here. Awesome stuff. Just taking a look at the chat here. We'll go through here. Was this a PDF exported from? That is correct. Yeah, Amber, that's correct. It was a PDF, but you're also able to go ahead and just sync your PowerPoint as well. That will be on our advanced session next week. So on next Wednesday, if you're looking more into doing that, you can definitely go ahead and check that out. But just as a brief overview, it's really simple to do it. All you need to do is click on add question. And then you can go ahead and add that as well. Sorry, you click add slide. And then what you can do is click on add. and you can go ahead and add that accordingly. But just because I have actually already synced my PDF, you won't have that option. But again, if you're looking to do that, you are able to go ahead and sync it. Yes, that is correct. And then Kim, you had a question here. Are you able to see the highest score? Which students score the highest? And yes, of course. So that will all be in the reporting section that I'm going to go through in just a bit. All of that information will be there. You're able to see that. Preston had the question, is everything you're showing us now on the free version? The answer would be no, it's not all. You'll have certain elements that are available, true and false, and also multiple choice. But I can go ahead and share a little bit more information on that towards the end of our call. Yeah, great stuff. Cool. But there's a very short overview here. This is essentially what it looks like creating Kahoot. It doesn't have to be pretty, of course, but you can, of course, spice things up by using the images that you need. All of that is going to be inside of Kahoot as well. So let's go ahead and save this here. I'll have to give a title for my Kahoot. Let's say it's going to be the best Kahoot. I'm feeling good today. That's what we're going to call it here. And here is a description for our Kahoot. So all we need to do is we can use those tools that we have, upload slides, upload a PDF, create Kahoot questions using AI. It's all there, and then we can do that. So we click on save here. You'll see that our Kahoot is now ready to be shared. We can host it live like we did a moment ago when I was going through some of the slides or agenda. That was us hosting it live, but I'll also share with you how you can share our Kahoot in an asynchronous environment, right? So if I go into my folder here, this is where I have my Kahoot. But let's say, for example, you were looking into reporting, for example, or you're looking into how do I actually share my Kahoot for people to do it at a later date? Well, all you need to do is, like I said, go to your library, find the Kahoot you want to go ahead and assign, click assign, and then from there, you can set up the settings of how people want to see it. So do you want everybody to see it? Should there be a deadline for the Kahoot? Do people need to complete it by a certain time? Let's say, for example, we don't want we don't want there to be a deadline. I can just uncheck a deadline, and then I can choose my options. Do I want there to be a question timer? So if you remember when we were playing a Kahoot at the beginning of the call, there was a timer. Do I want people to have that same experience when they're playing a Kahoot? I can go ahead and either toggle that off or on. Do I want to identify the people that are actually joining the Kahoot? Do I want them to enter their email, their badge number? Do I want them to have something that identifies themselves on the call? Most companies that I work with typically do turn that on. For the sake of a webinar, I'm going to turn it off though, because again, I just want to show you that it is a possibility. Do you want personalized learning? That's another one I always turn on because after people play a Kahoot, I want to make sure they have the ability to go ahead and revisit questions they didn't get right. So let's say, for example, we have this set up. All I need to do is click on create. And from there, this is how we send it out. I think there were some questions around how do I actually send it out? This is how I send it out. So I went ahead, I signed my Kahoot, multiple different ways I can go ahead and send this. I can send it by email. I could just share the URL. I could download the QR code. I can put that into my PowerPoint presentation. I can put it on a pamphlet. I can have people scan this QR code, all of it here. So let's say, for example, I want to assign it to myself. I click emails. I go ahead and type in my email. And just like that, I can add myself. I click assign, and Connor's going to go ahead and get one here. And just like that, it's been sent out to me. So you can see how many people it's actually been sent out to. Just to show everybody a little bit more in depth when it comes to reporting, I have a report that's already pulled up here. Here's an example here. So here is an example of a real Kahoot that you could play. This is something that I played with my team when I actually joined Kahoot. And this is really cool use case here. So you can see that when I played Kahoot, 53% of people actually got the questions about myself right, more of an icebreaker environment. You can see here the difficult questions that I asked. There was 3 of them. The one that most people got wrong was what my favorite food was to cook from scratch. The answer is pizza for everybody, just wondering. But nobody got that right. So as you can see here, this is an opportunity for someone who's facilitating a learning. That's where you can go ahead and go back to the people that got it wrong and say, okay, this is a learning opportunity for us. And all we need to do is click on create, and we can actually create a Kahoot of all the difficult questions. So it doesn't have to be necessarily be about pizza. It could be in a professional setting where we have a learning development, for example. Maybe you have people that are in compliance and they didn't pass the requirement when it came to what it takes to be compliant. This could be a really good use case where you can go back to the people that got most of the questions wrong, and you can go ahead and educate them in a fun and engaging way. You also have the ability here to see who needs help. So if you have people that got 35% of questions right or less, their name will appear here. Luckily, when it came to the Kahoot that I play with my team, it was not it was not a thing. Most people got the questions right, which is really cool. You also have the ability to see who didn't finish the Kahoot as well, which is also another thing. And of course, you have the ability to see the podium. The podium is a really cool way to go ahead and really compete with each other and really create that competitive atmosphere. It's something that's super important. So that's awesome stuff there. But that's what it looks like when it comes to creating a Kahoot, which we've gone through today. We've also gone through assigning a Kahoot. We've also gone through a little bit on reporting as well. So those are really the main factors I wanted to cover here today on our basic training, because when it comes to using Kahoot, it's all, like I said, it's all about starting. We need to start somewhere. And this is really the building blocks to being successful using Kahoot. I said this at the beginning of the call, but I strongly recommend you go ahead and create a Kahoot about something that you enjoy. Running, baking, whatever your hobbies are, create that in your own private workspace. And then when you feel comfortable using Kahoot, go ahead and apply that to a professional setting. Start applying that to your team meetings. Are you having trouble with people? Maybe you're trying to create more engagement in the workplace. That's where you can apply that knowledge when you're having fun in a safe environment to a professional setting where you need to go ahead and drive results. Just something to keep in mind. And I've seen great success for that from the large organizations in the world. Yeah, awesome stuff there. All right, just moving along here. When it comes to using Kahoot, like I said, this was really the bread and butter of what I wanted to cover here today. There is some other awesome, great resources here. So number one here, we have a really awesome resource center. I'm going to go ahead and share this in the chat here. And Scott, I'll go ahead and answer your question just towards the end of the call. It's a little bit more of an in-depth answer there, but I'll go ahead and just share support center here. So if you are looking for some help to go ahead and get started with regards to using Kahoot, this is a really good place to start. We revamped our entire resource center recently, and we've had engagement through the roof. A lot of people are using our resource center. It's really impactful. So whether you're getting started with Kahoot, maybe you're trying to find out a little bit more about collaborating, what are best practices? This is a really good place to start. It's all in depth. It's all here when it comes to going ahead and getting started. So I definitely recommend starting there when it comes to using Kahoot. But maybe you're not somebody who learns through reading. Maybe it's someone who needs a little more of a visual experience. Well, that's where our YouTube channel comes into play. We have a really awesome YouTube channel that has bite-sized learning. We're all about bite-sized learning. I'll go back to the goldfish example again. We don't have a very good attention span. We want to recognize that. So if you're somebody who learns in, 2, 3, 4 minutes, this is a really good way to go ahead and get the information you need by visiting youtube.com/Kahoot. Really good stuff. So those are some really good resources as well. If you found today engaging, you found today to be impactful as a start, I would recommend going ahead and trying out Kahoot. Go ahead and try and make a Kahoot like I mentioned. And then when you feel comfortable, next Wednesday, we have a really awesome live training when it comes to advanced session. That'll be a session where we go more into reporting. It'll be where we cover stories and courses, success stories as well. A really good use case there. So I definitely recommend going ahead and signing up for the link there, and I will absolutely share that in the chat for everybody. So here is a direct link to our webinars. Every single Wednesday is where we'll have our training sessions where you can go ahead and join our session. So this was our basic session. Next week will be an advanced session. And then the following week, we will go back to a basic session and then an advanced session. It'll go every other week to make sure we're staying engaged. So that was everything I want to cover here today. The very last thing here as well is if you don't have a Kahoot subscription, here's another really useful link. So you can go ahead and get in touch with our wonderful sales team. You can go ahead and get in touch with our support team as well. If you're looking to learn a little bit more about Kahoot, we have a really awesome team that really cares for our customers. So go ahead and reach out for any questions you might have, anything with regards to getting your subscription started. Feel free to connect, and we are more than happy to support you. I will pause there. I know we're about 40 minutes in. I want to pause, see if there's any questions. And if there's no questions, of course, want to get people on their way. I know people in Europe are on to a long weekend soon. All righty. So go ahead and just sign up for the webinar. Be sure to click on those links here. I'll keep the chat open just for a little bit here so you can get those links. If there is no questions, but it doesn't seem like there is, I just really want to thank everybody for joining. Awesome group here today. Really, really good stuff. Feel free to connect with us if you have any questions. I hope you feel confident when it comes to using Kahoot. If I could give you best advice, just feel free to go ahead and create something in a low pressure environment. It's how we learn as people. Again, there's no pressure. Kahoot should be fun. And then you should import that fun that you have into the workplace. There's so many different use cases for Kahoot. You could do it in a live event. You could do it in an office. You could do it just between a couple of people. I do it with my family around the holidays. It creates a lot of competitiveness. Really, really cool stuff. So thank you very much for everybody joining here today. I hope you had a great time, and I wish you all a very happy Easter if you're celebrating. And I will see you next week, where my awesome coworker will take over, Leanne Abrahamson. She'll run through our advanced webinar. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Enjoy. Bye-bye.